The following is a presentation of the Radio Misfits Podcast Network.
From the birthplace of modern winemaking, Sonoma, California, welcome to The Winemakers. Local experts Sam Couturi, Bart Hansen, and Brian Casey, along with host John Myers, invite you to listen in as they discuss all facets of winemaking. So sit back, pour yourself a glass, and let's hear what the guys have to say this week.
The blood of God is Sangiovese.
Sangiovese.
It's the sound of Sangiovese.
The blood of Jupiter.
Yeah.
Isn't that a Nickelback song?
I don't know. I'm proud to
we
say.
shouldn't bring Nickelback up at the Blood of God podcast.
Nothing wrong with Nickelback.
Strike one.
Right?
Right. And that concludes the shortest episode of the podcast ever. Oh no, I just hit a button on my thing.
Car on fire. Damn it, Sam.
We have new equipment.
Let me see the other side. Is it red? Yeah, you're good.
Okay.
Put it in your pocket. Not on the table.
Don't touch it.
Not on
You can leave yours on the table. Actually, if you could put yours in your pocket.
Sure.
Just because that registers on the...
Oh, yeah. That makes sense.
All right, go on. Talk amongst yourselves.
I for somebody who, Stacy, you said affiliating a fifth generation.
Yes, fifth generation. Walla Walla.
As Walla Walla as a wine region, and not to disparage anything that's happened over here the last 25 years, I feel like having Hospice Daron here this week is sort of like a coming out party for this place.
No, it's totally. We have arrived. It's our coming out party. It's kind of, there's been a lot of shots across the bow and these kind of spikes here and there, but this one feels like not like an aberration or a fluke. It's no, it's been pulling the average up to the point where hospice is, taking notice. Obviously it has with our producers coming to Paso for years now. But
I know there was that rock seminar last year or 2 years ago that just was the grand slam of everybody was buzzing about the rock seminar. So
it's awesome. I love, I'm partial to the rock stuff. I also feel like I'm kind of an unofficial cheerleader for Walla Walla because, I love it here. I have a family here, and it's when the tide comes in, it raises all boats. It's absolutely something that's going on. So having hospice here is I guess you could say a bellwether. It's okay, it's come to this point now, and then hopefully it just continues. I feel like everyone sort of said that we're on the upward swing, and it's been on the upward swing for 20-ish, 25 years, but that swing is still swinging, and it's still going in the up direction, which is super exciting. For the community.
We were talking with Sean Boyd last week in podcast land, and he said that in he got here in 2005 or something maybe. I'm gonna act like it's a week ago so that I don't really remember the details. But he said, he got here in 2005. There was less than a dozen wineries, and within a 3 or 4 year span, there was 150 or 200 or something.
My story kind of echoes that sentiment almost exactly, where I, grew up here. When I got out of Dodge, it was around 99. And it's not hyperbole. I left. There was 13 wineries. That was when I went to kind of explore my music career, and came back about 8 years later. So around the beginning of 2007, 113 wineries. So it was literally that quantum leap that Sean's talking about.
That's exactly it.
And so when I came back, it definitely kind of took me aback a little bit. So everyone's a wino now, and this is cool, and there's wineries everywhere, and what the fuck is going on? And this, I could swear, right? It's
yes.
Okay. And it was
consider us the blood of gods of podcasts. Less art.
Less art, way more weed.
Way more weed.
And it was the
herb of gods podcast. Oh, maybe we should.
All right, there's a collab.
There we go.
That's a collab right there.
I don't know how that's not happening already.
Yeah, it's just Stanley Mouse Illustrated.
Can you imagine those shirts already? I'm just thinking, all right, I'll take a size large.
You see the
merch table alone.
In the world, right? Why is there not a Stanley Mouse? I'm going to edit this.
So nobody steals this idea
I'm
before.
emailing my IP lawyer.
Trademark.
I'll see you guys later. Sending myself an envelope.
Yeah, it was. But after I kind of acclimated and was oh, okay, it's really enriched culturally, really enriched personality. There's awesome restaurants, and now you've been here, not your first time, and it's kind of seen firsthand. So, just neat to see that it's just been enriched. I feel like, and I say enriched because what's weird is the population's almost remained static. It's less than 1% growth. So when I was a teenager going to high school here, 32,000 people. Now, I'm, in my 40s, and it's like, holy shit.
Does that include the population of the prison?
That's a good question, and I don't know, but it's like 35,000 now, and that's like 30, years later. Is that right?
That's what I was wondering is if you think a lot of those wineries that opened up were people moving from somewhere else to here, or was it local people that decided, hey, maybe we can do this ourselves?
It's a little of both, but I think more it was the people coming here. Yeah. But I do know there were locals that were like, this is kind of interesting, and what is this? And it kind of like tickled their imagination to explore and learn a little bit more. So it's a little column A, a little column B, but I mean, you also have to acknowledge then that like some people moved away and like just because of the way the population's been. But I mean, especially now, it's been really cool. People have called Walla Walla. I first heard this phrase when I started doing Blood of Gods, the annual merrymaking, our event. Walla Walla was very purple, and I was like, what are you? And they meant like red and blue as in political, because we have Whitman College is one of these top liberal arts colleges. We've got this wine industry, and at the same time, a lot of the farmers, a lot of farming backbone to it. So there's that red and blue.
I drove in from Pasco on Old Highway 12. I wanted to get off the freeway, and it was definitely like...
Is that a Johnny Cash song?
It should be. And it definitely felt a little Trumpy out there. There was some like, it's not just like one sign. Mm-hmm. You have a couple of signs. You have a flag, and then the hand-painted sign that you did.
Whenever you see the hand, it's like a newer model truck, but they chose to like spray paint it with slogans from InfoWars. You're like, this guy's in it. Yeah.
It's not day one for him. He's been doing some research.
He's a free thinker for sure.
Yeah. But yeah, that's Sean and my thing. I hadn't heard that, but kind of syncs up the timeline and the amount of wineries. It was like the land rush was on. Like I think of a gold rush or like that powder keg blue in the early mid 2000s. It's like, wow. So pretty cool, pretty wild.
Well, let's talk about Blood of Gods.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know the first time I saw it. How many issues are you in?
I just came out with number 9. Yeah, okay. And that's the one that's on the left there. That's the spring summer 2024 issue.
I've seen this one.
And the first time you saw it is the one that I brought in that Charles was in.
That's what I feel like, and I was wondering why I hadn't been in my life.
A couple years ago, I think, yeah. And it was, so when I left Walla Walla, I started doing touring. I was pretty bright-eyed and bushy-tailed where Walla Walla is my stomping ground. So when I went on my first tour, it was Ozfest, so it was like Pantera, Ozzy Osbourne, or at the time it was still Black Sabbath. I was 20. My parents thought it was going to be like sex, drugs, and rock and roll and crazy shit all the time because it was like 32 dates in like 60 days or something. And
you were playing on it? Or
there's no time on that schedule for sex, drugs, and rock and roll.
We've all seen the meme with like all the fat old guys sitting backstage looking at their phones. It's like what people think is happening, and it's like a scene from a like I don't even know like
Almost Famous,
video, and what's really happening is just like derp.
Total Spinal Tap moments,
So real.
all over the place. And so when I came back, I was actually vegetarian, and my mom was like, "Oh my god, what? Okay, you're fine." And the joke or the punchline is sort of like some people are like, "Well, I don't know if that was better or worse," depending on...
The Blood of Gods is actually soy sauce.
Yeah. And I did that for a couple years.
Coconut aminos.
And that was wild. So that was kind of funny when I hear people talk about, or you see in reviews like, rock star winemaker, so-and-so. And I'm like, dude, I know rock stars. And that's not me puffing my chest out, but I've seen a lot of fucking crazy shit on those tours. You're not a rock star. Like, that's not rock star shit. Like, I feel like we need to, like, for actual rock stars, need to take that phrase back or need to, like, show up at someone's door.
Yeah, but the actual rock stars can't take it back because they're all one tweet away from never selling another fucking stream.
Yeah.
So
it always kind of like put a LeBrock in my shoe, and that was kind of like the thing that led to Blood of Gods, where I was like, this is so silly to me to hear like these terms in the wine industry, but they also had a lot of the same cool things and a lot of the same complaints, and it was all pros and cons and pluses and minuses, where it's like you hear people bitch about reviewers and critics. You hear people bitch about their distributors. You hear people like bitch about their fans and sycophants or trends and all this stuff. I was like, people can get over like wine is not old rich white dudes with monocles, and metal guys are not just like knuckle dragging cavemen with bullet belts and spikes and denim and leather.
I meant like Patton once.
Mike Patton's awesome. He's hilarious.
He's from our town. He's from Santa Rosa. Close enough.
What?
Mike Patton, Mr. Bungle, Faith No More.
Faith No More. The guy from Faith No More is from Santa Rosa?
Yeah, and well, he was the second singer for Faith No More.
Technically,
But Mr. Bungle just got back together, but then I think had to break up again because one of them went to prison for something very bad.
I think it was a Faith No More guy.
Was it?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
I just remember they were
could be
going to
wrong.
play whatever the theaters that were trying to get you to buy in Petaluma.
Oh, the Mystic?
Yeah. There's this, like, doesn't matter, tangent. But
one of the greatest vocalists of our time, though.
Mike Patton?
Yeah.
Oh, my God, yeah.
Yeah,
My
absolutely.
favorite Mike Patton thing ever is someone had drawn a picture of, like an embryo in the bathroom at the Channel, which is a nightclub in Boston that's long since gone. And underneath it just said Mike Patton. And like I'll never, for some reason, it has stuck with me for so long. It's like a little like embryo inside of a sack. And it was like weirdly well done with like a ballpoint pen and a paper towel holder. It just said Mike Patton.
That's awesome.
Anyway.
Yeah, those kinds of things kept coming up, and so this was originally like my pithy joke to kind of poke holes through it and be like, oh, you think you're really funny and cool, or something about status and elitism, because there's that in metal too. I hate when people are like, these stupid fucking kids aren't listening to real metal.
They're not metal enough.
Yeah, and then they start listening to it and they're like, stupid fucking posers, stop listening to our shit. And you're like, dude, what do you, they can't
You're not
do it.
born in churches, you're a pussy.
Yeah. Softcore, come on. So there's gatekeepers and elitists in both of it. So that was like my one-liner. And it was kind of the age-old, like a joke that went too far and kind of wound up becoming a real thing and sort of being legit. And I'm like, God, now it's so...
Distributed Barnes and Nobles, right?
I've seen it there, yeah. I got a couple small distributors, so it's cool to see, or even like Powell's Books in Portland and some of these big places. People send me photos.
At Powell's.
I was like, wow, this is cool.
2 issues old. But
yeah. I know. But
well, they're timeless, though. I mean, there's some timely elements to it, but they're really, if you haven't picked one up.
Oh, yeah, because
they're old, and every time you pick one up, old, even that one with Charles in it, like you pick it up every time, you're gonna find. Yeah. It's so full of stuff. How do you do this end of full-time job?
I mean, it's
because that's why they only come out every couple of months.
Like, not to be cute, but it's like, I mean, you guys do this cool podcast, and it's kind of the same thing where it's like, it's still fun for you, and it's still fun, and I, enjoy doing it. And I think, the older I get, I thought I'd be saltier, but I think I'm a little bit more soft. I get like more, like sentimental about it. When I see like an old guy, last year come to the annual merrymaking, I'm like, you're so opposite of my demographic, but they're just like, this is neat, or looked cool, or it's a cultural thing. And
well,
I'm like,
I think
whoa.
The wine world has, and I'm notoriously ranted about this on everybody I've ever been given, but the wine world is just fucking boring and pedantic, and the world doesn't need more slow pans of vineyards. It doesn't need another like uppity wine reviewer, like
a winemaker picture holding grapes
like,
with perfectly manicured fingernails.
or like a 10 million case winery showing you how like they have hot girls in thongs foot stomping during harvest.
Oh yeah, it drives
like,
me crazy.
Apparently, like warehouses of them as far as the eye can see.
Yeah,
but it just doesn't. It's so dumb that like I think the people that do get into wine and don't want to like attach themselves to the hoity-toity like cheesiness of it. Are excited for something new and different. And I think that's part of the success of this podcast. I think that's a huge part of the success of 16600 because it's something that's real and it's from the heart. And that's certainly a huge part of the success of this.
Thanks.
People,
I agree.
Especially in a more and more like weird Instagram, Bravo world, people crave authenticity and it's getting harder and harder to find.
Yeah, I think.
But when you see it, it's like this, like, oh my God, like there it is.
Also, because I think like people forget like, oh wait, shit. This should be fun. Like we should enjoy it. Like it's not a dick measuring contest. Like we're not just like out, comparing things or being competitive. It's like, so when someone's happy or smiling, I'm like, that's again where I should be more like a curmudgeon. But I'm like, oh, you're doing something right, and someone's like, that's kind of funny or that's like interesting and kind of makes them chuckle. I'm like, okay, we're on the right track. Like that's, so that was, I guess really to kind of like, before we get off the rails here, the one thing that really put a skip in my step that is what we're talking about is that first issue. At the time, I was working for a winery that was a fully family brand, and they were like very...
Fully family, yeah.
Yeah, I'm just wondering, like, what if they own a lot of shit, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And up here in the Northwest, it's just like two things, so really different from where you guys are at. But Bill Foley, his daughter Courtney, is pretty active in their business, and I had my very first issue out. And to kind of keep my North Star true, I always just donated proceeds to the Blue Mountain Humane Society, which is like our local chapter of the Humane Society. Just because I'm like, this is meant to be fun. I'm not trying to like make money from this. I'm not trying to like all of a sudden get, driven by some monetary. It's like totally trying to like keep it fun. And I mentioned that to her. She was looking at it like, oh, this is really cool. Awesome. Thanks. And then a few months later, the director called me and was like, I have this weird mystery. Was hoping you could help me kind of solve it. And I was really confused, and I called her and she said, oh, I think we kind of figured it out. Because it was a donation from the Foley Family Foundation, and they kind of put together the Foley Family Winery, et cetera.
Oh, the director of
the Humane Society.
The Humane Society called you. I thought your like boss called you and you were in trouble. Or something. Usually when the boss calls you, like, we have a little mystery to solve, and you're like, oh.
Well, it wound up being like, we got this check for $10,000, and they said, Stacy said you're doing a good job. Keep it up. And I was like, what the fuck? Like, I would not have been able to give you $10,000 in a very long time of like doing this thing. And it was like, just kind of took me back. And I was like, well, what else is kind of possible?
The most blood things ever is the baby spiders that
crawling
are
around on the
microphone. Anyway, sorry.
So metal.
They heard me calling.
Sorry, keep talking.
No, so that was kind of the thing that put a skip in my step. And I was like, well, let's just see what else is possible and keep it going. And biannual, once in the spring, once in the fall is kind of a good frequency where I'm not burnt out. Like it's enough where I don't think I could do it quarterly. At least not now, just because it's, a lot of moving parts and contributors now. And, it's, this is a good balance for me where I can still do my full-time job and still kind of scratch this creative itch.
I like the way it's evolving. Like you went from all illustrations, and then now you're having photos. Like
the photographer likes that the publication now includes a notice. Breaking news on the Winemakers
Podcast. Now likes that the publication includes his photos.
Specifically.
I did too. I mean, it's the paper's getting better. I got glossy covers now, and it's probably gonna hopefully get better. It'd be neat to do like a perfect bound edition. I will probably be announcing soon to have a book deal, which is cool. It'll be like a compendium of all the out of print issues, which I think's 1 through 4.
That is so sick.
And then I'll have like unreleased, because there's actually really cool shit that never made print. I just didn't have the room or the number of pages that were kind of like cutting room floor. I'll send you some. I kind of have my vaults.
If I could have one, I have the rest.
The library.
I just don't think I have the first one.
So that was kind of cool to hear that people are like, oh, we want to get these ones. We're collectors, kind of like in wine. I feel like that's what's neat about fans that are actually like true passionate lovers of this stuff, is like they have encyclopedic tendencies. They want to know more, and who's in the thank you credits, and what shirt is Sam wearing, and what, where'd you get that, and like kind of go deeper. And they're collectors with these completist kind of mindset sometimes.
Right.
So.
I think the crossover is cool too, because I have seen this show up like in the stories of like punk rock friends who I don't think like wine, but they like zines.
Yeah.
And
Zine culture
like, this is crazy.
It actually pulled me into it a little deeper, because I was like, I remember reading zines, but like,
oh, they're still out there.
They're still out there, and it's cool because they can go from like shitty Xerox and like a staple, to like, I mean, depends on what your definition is, because some people would look at mine and be like, that's a little too nice. I'm like, I mean, what's some of those, like Pipette or the wine zine?
But the
those
definition
ones
of zine is small self-published.
Yeah,
So,
I kind of like to be very loose and like general, like you're doing it.
You're self-published. You're a zine.
And I love.
Like,
I mean, I come
wine.
from punk.
It doesn't really have a definition.
Punk and DIY is kind of like what
zines don't suck.
I feel like it's also like zines are cool because there's no filter. Like it's like there's no editorial person saying like, let's do this or let's not do that.
Unfiltered,
it's just like
unsulfured.
Yeah.
They're the 0-0.
It's the 0-0 of print.
But again,
unedited.
That's
it
a
doesn't
good.
taste like barnyard.
Yeah,
Okay.
That's actually
might.
that'd be like a good on the back of a shirt, like the 0-0 print. But I did actually
That
get some
one's
new merch. I'll send you guys some shirts. I got there's a cool design on the front, but on the back it says snobs don't like it, and has a cool one. And then There's a real brutal death metal splattery logo of Blood of Gods. On the back it says "Death to False Wine." So that's another fun.
I will say that your T-shirt is in my that and the T-shirt that I'm not allowed to talk about are constant rotation.
The T-shirt that was destroyed 10 years ago.
The T-shirt that was destroyed 10 years ago because of a giant asshole in the wine industry that I wear almost every day.
Is that in a podcast episode? I could listen.
No, but I'll tell you about it afterwards. I just want to get my friend in trouble.
And so it has grown. It's evolved. It's I've kind of turned this corner too, where it's neat to see like the book thing, or I've actually, I've spoke on a couple panels now, which I know you're no stranger to, but it's like a muscle I'm learning to exercise and grow and talk about a little bit.
And Wine Enthusiasts.
And Wine Enthusiasts, I did in their Volcano issue that was out earlier this year. It was kind of neat because I did an article, and I'm sort of used to being
40, right?
It was 40. Or wait, Future 40.
Future 40.
You're careful. That's ageist,
Right.
That's like that.
I don't know what happens.
It means there's still a chance.
Yeah. No, it actually changed the year before me to Future 40, which was the COVID year issue.
What does Future 40 even mean?
It means that people who are over 40 are allowed to win the award and get recognized also.
Yeah.
That's dumb.
Yeah. Right.
You're like, how about you just call it the fucking Wine Enthusiast Awards?
Imbibe calls theirs like the Imbibe 75 or the
Future 40. Oh, he's 53. So there's 40 of them, and they might impact things in the future.
I think what you're getting at is like participation trophy, kind of feel to it.
Hey, listen, I ran a 10K last weekend, and I'm fucking proud of that. Man.
Oh, cool.
But still walking like a cowboy. But ran as a general.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Okay, I have all my toenails. I'm not naming names, but
That's funny.
Anyway, so what's the next evolution for Blood of Gods?
I think
in my head, I see like films coming.
I would love to do a lot of stuff, but I think the next immediate steps is to maybe do the Blood of Gods annual merrymaking elsewhere, either like in its full version or pop-ups. Yeah, I've had folks asking me, and it's just like finding the time and actually putting my shoulder into it to plan it and do it. And
you gotta stop donating the money too if you're gonna start picking it up.
I know, it's like finding
how many dogs are in Walla Walla Valley? He's saved them all by now.
Well, how many people are in the prison?
The merrymaking, the way I've done it this year is, ever since I started, 100% of the tasting fees go to Planned Parenthood. So I kind of, I always think about punk and hardcore is all about underdogs and black sheep and marginalized people or just outsiders. Those are like my fucking people. And so it's sad to say, but abortion's healthcare. I'm being interviewed. I could soapbox. Women are marginalized.
Soapbox away on this.
They're like second-class citizens in this country right now, and so they, by extension, are the homies. And those are my people that think in punk and hardcore. Women are the homies.
Women are the homies.
So many.
But what's neat is
but the attention is so good.
I think they've the producers, because if you look at the lineup it's in the back page of that new issue. There are producers that normally aren't doing shit. Like Cayuse will be there pouring. Walter Scott from Willamette Valley, like a real nice premium Pinot producer.
Massican.
Massican there. And I think they just kind of get it. Like you guys seem to, not to kiss your ass, but it's like, oh, this is actually fun and different, and it's pushing the dial a little bit. And having watch out for that Red Bull.
It's on him, brother.
I don't know. When the spider drinks the Red Bull, I feel like some Peter Parker's
He's gonna start spinning around.
Start appearing in the side of it.
The vendors are cool too. Like Sub Pop Records will be there. Beecher's Cheese is there. So it's just like I always get confused when I tell people what is the merrymaking like, and the short pithy version is like I'm just trying to bring like an issue to life. So it's like art, wine, there's metal bands, but it's I imagine, not to be self-aggrandizing, but the first Lollapalooza, how did Perry Farrell describe that to someone? Well, we've got the Jim Rose Sideshow Circus, and Ice Cube is playing, and the Rollins Band is playing, and there's also these weirdo vendors and performers and
Jim Rose.
yeah, and maybe Burning Man when it first started. Like, what the fuck is this? You know, how did they describe to people? I'm sure it wasn't just like, it's, you know, a few words and it's like, well, it's kind of.
You know, I think the parallel, and tell me if I'm wrong, and what I think what we try and do at 16600 is you do the thing because it's what you want to do. It's the art you want to make.
Yeah.
And it's cool when people come along.
They
but that's not what you're doing it for.
We're not gonna say who it is, but someone in the one of the advertisers did not get that. Anyway, sorry.
No, feel like you're understood, or people.
Well,
you know,
yeah, you just do it because it's what drives you, and then at some point people start coming on because, and not necessarily because it's what drives. I don't think that every 16600 member was there because of the Grateful Dead. A lot of them were.
Have you been to Hot Poop downtown yet?
I'm trying to not go to Hot Poop until at least Sunday, because the last time I was here, I went to Hot Poop twice and spent like $700.
Okay, but if I leave Saturday night to drive home,
so we're gonna go to Hot Poop later.
It's the oldest independent record store in Washington State.
Well, it's got to be at this point one of the oldest independent record stores left on planet Earth, right?
They celebrated their 50th anniversary last year, and it's cool because you would think it's Seattle, with their music scene and population, but no, it's in Walla Walla. And I remember growing up hearing stories from my uncles that were kind of like hard rock party animals. And they'd be like, you used to go into Hot Poop and you just get stoned off the fumes walking in that place. He was like, obviously he's a deadhead and you kind of get the cut of his jib, which is why I was mentioning it. But I remember buying records from there when I was a teenager, and they'd special order stuff for me, and that was just like, that's cool. That's like,
he's and when we share artistic collaborators, he had T-shirts and posters that were done by Stanley Mess.
Oh yeah, I'm not surprised. Yeah,
so it was definitely like going into the home of a kindred spirit who's also a little bit of a hoarder.
Oh my God! Can you imagine?
Best record stores look like that, and skate shops. Let's be honest.
Yeah, but
stacks.
When you go to check out and there's like a stack of
a music shop, a record shop, or a skate shop. When you walk in and it feels like you're about to buy an iPhone, pardon.
Yeah.
I want to find shit from 20 years ago under shit from 30
He's got some pretty
ago.
crazy rare
Like
vinyl things, and like, what'd you wind up buying? Do you remember, or was it?
I just bought a ton of stuff for the tasting house. At least that's my justification. I bought some David Bowie. I bought some old Beatles. I bought some new Billy Strings.
Does your dad know about it?
Yes.
Who's a bigger deadhead? You or your dad?
You're like, does he know about the purchase?
Does he know about the? I don't show him the Amex bill. Who's the? Well, it's sort of like to answer that question. How do I answer that question? I mean, my dad first saw the Grateful Dead as a high school student in Golden Gate Park in like 1967. They were playing in Speedway Meadows. He was doing spring football practices for Sacred Heart High School on the polo grounds, and they were running laps, and everybody else turned right, and he turned left, and just kept running, and never went back to football. So, it's like, you can't really,
I feel like I just thought of Forrest Gump when he just kept running.
Instagram meme incoming.
Definitely. And then, my mom was in a commune with the guy who became like the first tape archivist of the vault, and guy Dick Lodval, who put all of the Dick's picks. So to say, I could never say that I'm a bigger deadhead than my parents.
They got more years, and
they got more years, but I it just like was there my whole life. I grew up.
I think
backstage.
I don't even think you could be defined as a deadhead though. You guys are like part of the dead.
Yeah, or like in
culture,
the family.
Yeah,
Bob
totally. Weir's daughter comes to their shows.
Oh, awesome!
Room. Like it's
you're in their orbit.
Yeah, we're in the inner circle, as it were.
Cool. He made out with Jerry Garcia once when he was 10.
I that part is not true, but
what?
When Jerry, there was definitely like, and you've been on a lot of tours, and so you probably saw this. you know, in the music world, there was like the backstage area, and then there was like an inner circle of the backstage area where the band members were that your regular backstage pass didn't get you to.
Mm-hmm.
But the band members would hang out and they'd walk through, and Jerry would walk through, and nobody would talk to him. Like, everybody was like, "Oh, there's freaking," and I was the little precocious kid that I was, would always go, "Hey," you know, walk over and say, "Hi, Jerry," and he'd go, "Hey, shorty," and just keep walking. So, you know, Jerry Garcia called me.
I have a similar story. So my mom's really devout Catholic, so that was kind of why she was like freaked out when I was going on these tours.
This explains the death metal.
Definitely. She one time so in 2001 when I was on Ozfest, it was when Marilyn Manson was on it, Slipknot, some of these other crazy bands, and this was in the shadow of Columbine had happened, and he was like persona non grata for, you know, those shootings. And so there's so many death threats and there's so many protesting and every show we'd go to. So he had so much bodyguards and security that like when you would be backstage, they would do this thing where you'd basically walk from a dressing room out to hallway. And it was like, secure all the doors. Cool, clear. Then they go like into the foyer, close. Everything's cool. I'm like on the way out to the stage kind of deal. And I remember one time calling my mom on a payphone because this is 2001, checking in from the tour, and I'm like, "Mom, I'm in this room right now with Marilyn Manson, and you know we're like locked here for just like a minute while they like secure everything." And she's like, "Oh my God, get out of there!" I'm like, "Run out of there!" Totally freaked out. But you talking about like, you know, there's backstage and there's like the deep backstage where you're like, okay, there's actually where they are. So now I kind of like look back and laugh at it, but yeah, it's there's backstage levels.
So, okay, grew up with the devout Catholic mother, went on tour with Ozfest. When was wine, like, when you got into wine when you came back to Walla Walla, and all of a sudden there was 115 wineries?
Yeah. Which is kind of funny because in that time when I was away, I lived in LA for a few years, then I moved over to Germany, lived there for a couple of years. So now that I've been in the wine industry for a while, people are like, "Oh, you probably had some like amazing like Rieslings or at least some really great beers." It's like, I was dumb and in my 20s. I drank Jägermeister. Like I didn't even have a taste for it. Like not at all. It definitely, I look back and I just shake my head, but it really kind of like bloomed when I came back and just saw like, I never really had a positive or negative feeling about wine, but I remember there was one where I'm not immune to that trope of an aha moment where it was like, oh, it's not all the same. Shit, this is really, really cool. What is this? And like, you know, as much as I'd love to be different or break the chain or do something particularly novel, it's like we all cook with water. Like I had that moment where I was like, it was like just a true blue Walla Walla cab. It wasn't like one of these absolute barn burners, but it was just like, oh man, made me straighten up and pay attention. And that was kind of the first domino that tipped for me. So
it's funny how many people describe that wine, whatever that wine is, as making them sit up and pay attention. Mm-hmm. Where it's not, where it transcends from just alcoholic beverage to something more. You're like, oh shit.
I think
I'm
it was
not
also
just drinking
like,
this to get buzzed. I'm drinking this because it satisfies all these other like endorphin and oxytocin sort of like craving parts of my brain, right?
And like I remember like the thing, this is funny because it's so long ago now, but it's like a phantom memory where it's like also like the texture. I was like, oh, like, you know, again, nothing particularly novel in the wine industry, but when it's like my day one, that was like one of the things I remember vividly was like, oh man, it feels different, you know, like so that was cool.
And that was a Walla Walla cab.
Yeah. Hopefully they'll give me a kickback. It was Pepper Bridge, but they're kind of like a long-running winery, so everyone knows them because they're kind of an institution. I think they were in that first 13 or so wineries that opened. So and they've got vineyards. You guys have probably seen them because they're sort of around south part of town, getting close to that rock. Not all the way to Rocks, but close to Oregon, which is 8 miles away.
8 miles away.
Yeah.
So 8 miles and a universe away.
And some dirt roads.
Oh, yeah, we got intentionally lost driving around the rocks yesterday.
Kicking up a little dust.
You got to kick up a little dust in the rental car, you know?
I love that place, and I think it's funny when people learn about Walla Walla and, first time they hear that you're in Washington, they instantly go to Seattle. Like, oh, is that pretty close to Seattle? Like, it's like 4.5-hour drive from Seattle. It's opposite corner. And they still kind of don't get it. You're like, no, if you're downtown Walla Walla, which we basically are right now, we're like 2 or 3 blocks from First and Main, you can be in Oregon in like 8 to 10 minutes, I'd say.
We could walk to Oregon in half an hour. Yeah.
And then straight east, Idaho's like maybe closer to like 20, 30 minutes or something like that. But it's the corner, it's pretty.
Oh, Idaho's that close.
Yeah, it's pretty close.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, like as the crow flies. Yeah.
No, we'll go see Dan Bixby. I mean, I guess that's why they come here every once in a while. I think the Bixbys.
It's like going to Dry Creek Valley for us or something.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. They're like, oh, it's 45 minutes away.
One of the things I appreciate about in both times that I've been here, there's something almost refreshing about like flying into a wine. In my mind, I was going to a wine region, and you fly into the airport, and you're like, well, shit, where are the vineyards?
Totally.
And
you live in Santa Rosa?
In Sonoma.
Okay.
Yeah. There was a time
because our airports are very similar to Santa Rosa,
totally.
Like size-wise and everything.
Yeah, totally. I love the little Walla Walla airport.
Mm-hmm.
I flew into Pasco this time. It was also great.
Mm-hmm.
Shout out to traveling to Walla Walla. It's not as complicated as it might seem on the surface.
I made it complicated for myself.
Well, you made it you started in Canada.
Yeah, basically.
Bellingham.
Yeah. It's pretty drive.
What was this? Oh, the sort of diversified ag community, where there's all the grains that are grown, and there's still tons of apple trees, especially you go down in the rocks, and blueberries, and
it is really diverse. Like I get what you're saying, and I totally agree, because that's also there's two sides to that. One, if we focus on the grapes, it's like, again, this is an oversimplification, but Napa Cab, Willamette Valley Pinot, Walla Walla ? We do kind of all this stuff, and we do it really well, and I'm totally biased, but same thing for anything else that's not grapes. It's like, we've got, wheat, peas, asparagus, barley, all the apple orchards, cherries, like all that. It's just like,
it's nice.
It's really cool. I mean, we have a low desert climate, 12-ish inches of rain, per year on average. Some years more or less, but I think that's about the average. But, Walla Walla, if you guys don't already know, it's Cayuse word means many waters. Walla means water. So for emphasis, they say Walla Walla. And a lot of it is because if you go east, towards, that direction of Idaho, there's the Umatilla National Forest, where it just kind of gets higher and higher elevation. That snowpack gets replenished. So there's all these little creeks and rivers and streams that flow west and, ultimately congregate to the Columbia, which separates Oregon and Washington, and just goes on out to the ocean. And so I can only imagine it must have been pretty wild for like settlers or, the natives, when they're like, what is this utopia, coming across that hill? Like, it's deserty, but it's really fertile. And how is that possible? And it's kind of our secret sauce.
Well, and as much as like it's a low desert sort of situation, and when I was here in July, it was hot, and everybody was talking about water concerns, but for what we're used to seeing, like, there's surface water everywhere here.
Yeah.
There's like all these irrigation ditches out in the rocks, and then the little Walla Walla South, and all these little creeks, and then the channel that runs through the middle of town. I was in one of the winery owners that was on that Trey Bush's backyard.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah,
in the middle of summer, and there's like a creek in his backyard, just like flowing out of the ground. And that, we have decent amount of groundwater in Sonoma, but by July, all our creeks are dry.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And we don't have you don't see the water in the way that you do here.
Yeah.
No, you even water your front lawn like at 2:00 in the morning, so your neighbors don't see you using water.
Yeah, totally.
It's completely here. People are just rolling out those sprinklers, and
totally,
everything's green. It's beautiful.
Yeah, I love it here. It's great.
Well, because you don't feel like it's
moving here,
monoculture-y, you know what I mean? In some wine regions, it's like it's all about the grapes, and so it's just grapes as far as you can see. It's really nice to see one side of the street is apples and the other side of the street is grapes. Like we feel like in Sebastopol, we kind of like kicked the apple people out to plant vines because it was more profitable.
Yeah.
So this is so cool to see just a little bit of everything, and bees. Lots of bees.
Yeah.
You have bees. It's crazy.
Well, and everything's blooming. I mean, it's a great time to be here.
Oh yeah.
But I guess sort of the hard question on that is there starting to be tensions between sort of the wine growing community and the rest of the ag community? Because at some point, and obviously it hasn't happened here, where it becomes a financial question of like, this land would, has more profitability as grapes than whatever's been done there for 100 years, which is, you talk about Sebastopol and it happened in Sonoma, it happened in Napa.
Mm-hmm.
You've
seen it a little bit.
Starting to happen here a little bit?
I would say, and I don't want to tempt fate, but I feel like the very earliest preliminary hints of it are where you've seen conversions to grape fields from, whatever it might have been there before. But not to what you're used to or what you've seen already. Right. So I'm kind of curious, and that's, I think, where everyone's a little bit holding their breath to see, like, how much more vineyards can we plant here, or what's going to get the axe to make room for it. I don't know. It's in Walla Walla. I mean, you guys obviously you traveled to get here. It's this might be a bit of a tangent, but it's also this geographic bubble that's really isolated.
Right.
So we don't have a big metropolis on our doorstep. I joke it's like George Clooney in Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? Where he's like, ain't this place a geographical anomaly? It's 2 weeks from everywhere. Like, you can't get his pomade. It's like Walla Walla. It's like a 4-hour drive from everywhere.
2 weeks
It's like
from everywhere. Yeah.
4 hours straight west is Portland. 4 hours east is Boise. 4.5-ish is like Seattle. It's like no one's here by accident. Everyone's a qualified, like, they're here to eat, drink, and be merry. No one waltzes in and is like, Walla Walla, huh? What do you do here? Like, what's the cut of your jig? It's like, no, you didn't just, accidentally drive 4 hours. It's like, you're here to, do something in that vein, whether it is eating and drinking and being merry. It's not a lot of looky-loos,
right.
They're more of a qualified customer. But to go back to what you're saying, because we're in that bubble, like, I almost wonder if that has an insulating effect too in other ways.
No, that was one of the things I was thinking yesterday as we were driving around. Like, if this was 2 hours closer to Seattle, how much different it would be as far as like the way the tech money of the Bay Area has influenced, certainly Sonoma County over the last 20 years.
It's cool to see like Walla Walla has sort of been this like respite for people in Portland and Seattle where they're like, we just need to get out of this crazy town for like a weekend and just, have all these tasty, amazing things and then go back bright-eyed and bushy-tailed and not like, burned out.
Well, that was the other thing that we came to the conclusion of yesterday, that there's not a lot of people coming here. There's no day trippers. You got to come here. If you're driving 4 hours or flying in, you're spending the night.
Did you guys interview Brooke, since we're talking and her wine's here, that she stopped by?
Well, we interviewed Brooke in Sonoma a couple of summers ago, I guess. She was doing, and I guess she's still working on the do you want to try that before you drink it all, Brian?
Yeah.
The one, this is the least amount of wine glasses we've ever had on a table for a podcast. The one wine
mostly coffee and Red
Sam
Bull
was
at the table.
unconscious a half hour ago.
He'll be unconscious again in another half hour.
No, I got to pull my shit together. We're going to the rosé luncheon. That's going to at the
Motorco,
at the Motorco with our good friend of the pod, Christophe Dasson.
Oh, cool.
Moderating that.
Yeah, I'm excited.
He's awesome.
That's definitely a weak link for me is like French stuff. That's why I'm hoping, and this new issue is kind of like hospice centric. I also went to New Zealand in February, so it's got a little New Zealand razzle dazzle to it, but I would like to have like more international stuff in Blood of God. So if anyone's listening to this, that's in
who
country.
Decides what wines go in there? That you?
I mean, it's just kind of, it's me,
How
but
do you
it's
find
also
them?
like collaborative where, keeping my finger to the pulse of checking out who's doing what on Instagram. It's kind of like we were saying too, like looking at band photos and, they're wearing their shirt, or, James like this person and I'm going to, check them out. Or sometimes someone will be like, go I mean, it's purely like a shotgun blast for short version. Like, I almost never say no, which hopefully that doesn't come back to get me in trouble. But when someone's like, hey, I'd love to get a wine reviewed, I think there's probably like 20 wines or something per issue. So there's usually like room to make it work. But I try to make it diverse so there's not just like all these super expensive bottles. I also don't want them to be like, I don't know, whatever you find on the shelf everywhere all the time.
Yeah.
But you do, I mean, you have to have like Tuesday night pizza wine, inexpensive value stuff. I also want to have special occasion stuff here, there, everywhere. So again, that's where I'm like, I need to get a little bit more international just to kind of feel like I've rounded it out or covered my bases and have some balance. Like wine and life and everything is,
A pursuit of balance.
Pursuit of balance.
How did you get MJ to do? How did that happen?
I don't know. Like, I think we just kind of like vibed with like, I think you guys, it's not surprising you are the company you keep and you're like, oh, these people kind of get it, or they understand that this is fun and it should be fun and it should be enjoyable, and they're actually like creating it for the sake of artistic expression and not just to show off. So it's like he's kind of doing that in that same vein but different. And so I think we officially met at Grenache Fest. That was in Walla Walla in November. And that lineup was awesome. Just this murderer's row of great Grenache producers, mostly here, but they casted a wider net to have, I think, a few West Coast producers. And had a great time and just felt simpatico with him. So I just kind of said, hey, you want to do a couple reviews? And I just like it because he's got his unique approach in review.
Yes, exactly.
Colorful language when describing.
That's good because the typical wine review are so.
It's word salad and it's dumb. It's like,
I know.
I mean, it's all this predictable. It's fucking AI shit almost now. Like, I feel like I'm just seeing people talk about, I don't know, like how wines have like finesse and silky tannins, and it's like, oh my god, my eyes are rolling out of my head right now. Like, it's so boring.
Sorry, I fell asleep.
Yeah, I nodded off.
Well, I also think that people see, and coming from MJ's a hustler, but also like-minded people see what other people are doing. I mean, I called you and it was like, what you're doing is rad.
Yeah.
I'm quoting Hustle Smith, but I want to write about Hardy or whatever.
Yeah.
And
Hardy's cool. Like he, I don't know if I ever told you this, but he, the issue that you were in, like he was just like, he tried to buy a bunch of issues. I'm like, don't. I was like, I'll send you like a case of them. Let's just send me some wine or something, because it's not about, I'm laughing all the way to the bank or something. I'm just like, no, dude, let's just like.
It's a long ways to go.
He's cool. I've actually learned quite a bit from your article, but since then learning more about him and hearing his thoughts on like a variety of topics are just like, oh, this guy's cool. I mean, like, have you guys listened to Rick Rubin's podcast at all? Like stuff too, where they're just like, it tugs on the shoots of your imagination a little bit, which I think is kind of where the magic's happening. Yeah. And that's where I'm like, cool. And I feel like he's kind of in that same thing where he's like, no one's really talking about this as much, or like they do like the 15th, 20th thing down on the list. He's like bringing it up higher, and
it's a trippy dude.
Yeah, I've never talked to him. We've just corresponded through email, but it seems like you know him pretty well.
We'll hang out when you do annual merrymaking Sonoma edition.
Yeah,
that would be cool.
Hardy's the coolest, and I just met him a little over a year ago, and obviously we become close. But weirdly, we were born in the same hospital.
Whoa,
in Salem,
cool,
Massachusetts, which is very rare.
Whoa, that's pretty uncommon.
Yeah, it's very uncommon, very strange. There's a lot of weird crossovers. His wife grew up not far from me in summer. Now they live on our parents' house on Cape Cod, which is where I'm from, and they summer there, which makes me jealous. So, cool. Since
I'm talking about, or you got me thinking about reviews, like no wrong answers, but just to do kind of like a word association or Rorschach, or just who's in your playlist, like who are you stoked on in wine recently that I should check out?
Well played. The cool thing about the podcast is we end up tasting and meeting lots of like young winemakers or people who are like doing their side hustle wines, and so those are always like fascinating. I'd love Justin's wine, and wish we could taste more of them.
Yeah, Ward 4.
Ward 4 was rad just recently. I gotta shout him out. Not like he needs any of our shout outs, but the stuff that Patrick Cappiello's doing, especially just sort of like championing championing American wine right now is exciting to me.
And I love McLaren wines. Steve Law, who makes wines down in Sonoma, probably makes like 5 wines. Great price points on them. No one knows who he is. He's just a super clean, detail-oriented winemaker.
Village Vineyards, Mark Adams.
Ledge.
I tried to get Patrick to the merrymaking this summer, but he already had a bottling scheduled like the following week or something, so it didn't work out. But he's another one that I think is just
we'll keep working on them for you.
Butter him up for me.
Yeah.
No, I like when I see people that are like, there's no magic bullet to do any of this shit. It's just like, just chip away and just grind and put your shoulder in it. It's like, if it was that easy, like everyone would be fucking doing it, you know? It's like, no, it's just these people that are just like waking up every day and doing it, and like farmers or, like, no shortcuts.
As much as there's like sort of doom and gloom in the wine industry at the moment, I think it's a really exciting time. I think that there's a new generation. We're sitting around the table with basically them and us.
The new crop.
Last night of you struck on something a minute ago of like just being imaginative with not only like the way they're making the wines that they're making, but how they're talking about them and selling them. The doom and gloom of the wine industry is the same shit that we've been doing forever. We're doing more of it, and it's still not working.
Well, there's also,
and you're like, oh, well,
it's just rinse. They're doing like rinse and repeat.
Of like how the wine industry is constricting. You look at something like 6600, where we're doing better than ever, and there's a lot of smaller brands like us that are.
Right.
I think that there's a certain benefit to a lot of the larger box brands and a lot of the like if you're at a couple million cases of wine and you're fighting over space on the Costco shelf or inches at a Safeway for your wine, it actually behooves you for the wine industry to construct quite a bit for those mid-level producers who'd be the next ones to threaten you or kind of like bumping against you to die off because they're at a level where they can't sustain without that growth. There's like this weird spot where like it seems like a wine brand can be self-contained and functional no matter what and pretty resilient. And then they try to get bigger, and there's like you're very exposed between like point A and point C because you're at the whims of the Targets and the Safeways and like the Whole Food buyer and all that. And once you start playing that game, like you're out there, and if you get taken out and you lose that Target account, or
20 million cases of fucking high noon land in front of you,
you're
on
done.
your way to success,
and that's
never
just
get
it.
anywhere.
Like, but if you're Josh, it doesn't fucking matter if you lose 100,000 cases next year. Who cares? You throw that away anyways because you sent the wrong wine to China.
It sounds really convenient to say, but that's another one of those parallels with like music and stuff. It's like I think there's a quantum leap in bands where it's like when you're at this level, there's not like that next step is actually like a pretty big step. There's not like these intermediary, like step. It's like sometimes there's that point where you're like, shit, if we're really going to do this thing, we have to have, managers and trademarks and merchandisers and all these, like, you can't just be like, all right, we're just going to like eke into it.
And
like,
it costs money. Like that's, I have friends who are in very successful indie rock bands who made the crossover to a major label and immediately lost a shitload of money because you could go on tour in a kind of line with 6 dudes and sell out a 500 or 1,000 person room, and you're coming back with like trash bags of cash. But the second you signed a EMI or Virgin, and then you've got a manager who's taking a chunk and a booking agent taking a chunk, and like if you're doing merch through someone like Red Star, they're taking a chunk. All of a sudden, you're getting like not a lot of money back.
Yeah.
Success.
Yeah, and everything.
Air quote.
They're like, oh, they're paying for you to record. They're
it.
paying for you to go. Like, no. Every time they take you out to lunch, they're billing that back to you in advance, like at 15%.
Yeah.
Like, they're not. No one's taking you out to lunch, dude.
That was why I kind of felt good about leaving the music industry, is because when I first started, I was freelance writing and I did stuff for like Thrasher. And alternative press. I was a skateboarder. I was a punk kid, and like when I wound up working at a label, that's when I felt like shit. I feel like I'm on the bad guys team now, like because I'm, I have their balls in a vice. I'm like fucking. I need you to tour all the time, and I need you to sell all these records, and you're just like, it was business and it was impersonal. It was cold and sterile feeling, and I was business, and
it's
business
like that, yeah.
was not good. And I wound up just like hating it. And I was like, I feel like this is really like killing my spirit, because when I was freelancing before, I felt like I was doing the good work that's like championing these bands or these producers that I'm into. And like for me, it was like, now that I'm at the label, what wound up happening, long story short, kind of a side note, is I worked for an imprint of a larger label. It was Century Media Records. They're based out of Dortmund, Germany. It's where I lived. But they had an office in LA. And they had an imprint that was more focused on punk and hardcore, not just metal. And when I moved to Germany, after some time, that got reabsorbed in the parent company. Trends were changing with, styles and stuff. And they said, hey, we can amicably, split if you'd like, but if you want to go back to LA, we'll have a job for you there. And I was like, I'm just feeling kind of burnt out of the music biz and bled dry, and there's no justice, and there's a lot of these same complaints about the wine industry. It's like those are, again, I know it's sounding really convenient and like this like talking point, but like these are some of those things where I kept seeing these parallels with wine industry. I'm like, so anyways, that's when I made that choice to come back to Walla Walla. My parents are from here, and I, have 2 siblings, and like, it's gonna hit the reset button on life and see what happens.
Did you come back thinking you were going to work in the wine business?
Not at all. I didn't even know the wine business was a thing here.
Right.
So when
kind of like, what did you come back? What were you gonna?
I had a.
Did you have a plan, or did you
Actually,
not have? You just came back and
my
were
plan
like,
was to sort of like. So I did the thing where I moved back in. I was 26 or 27. I lived with my parents, and it was weird. I had 2 bags of clothes to my name was kind of it. And I'm like, all right, I'm just kind of starting over. And I had interviewed at a couple record labels. I was like, maybe, I'll do it, but I'll be in the Northwest. So I'm close to, my stomping ground of my family. And I had some interviews, and in this time is when I was like getting reacquainted with Walla Walla and learning about, this is wine thing that's happening here. And that was kind of the snowball started.
Right.
And then, just quickly got faster and faster. And then I stopped caring about looking elsewhere. It was like, I'm just gonna stay here. I have a marketing, I have an actual college degree in public relations, but it has a minor in marketing, so it kind of worked great for like hospitality and marketing. So it was kind of like a good transition. It was not like a 1-to-1, but it was like close enough. There was a lot of crossover. So yeah.
who does all the illustrations? Do you do the illustrations?
No, I
Are you
actually
like one of these
commissioned.
metalheads sitting there with a notepad?
No,
doing
I wish.
crazy, like
I'm-
skeleton.
No, I have a 4-year-old and a 7-year-old. They're probably better drawers than I am. So
Yeah, same.
they're either like tattoo, comic book, graphic designers, or artists. I'm trying to think of. I mean, though none of them have been like I would say like household names, except Jim Mahfood. He did like Tank Girl, but that's about it. They're more like underground or kind of indie, but I love that some of them are more fine art. Some of them are like gritty and comic book style, and some of them are splattery, brutal death metal stuff. And some of them are pretty, some of them are ugly, some of them are, it's like trying to be balanced with all of them. So I think it might be fun for anyone that's listening if you open up that new issue, and on the inside cover, because on the fold-out cover, if you turn it around, you see it's like, I call this like the terroir of terror. It's the like this haunted vista, and hopefully you can check it out. Whoever's listening, it's Blood of Gods issue 9. But on the inside cover, you get to do a name generator to find out what your wine horror name is. So you take the first letter of your first name. So Sam, if you will be my guinea pig.
Okay.
Yeah.
First letter, first name is S.
All right. So,
Diabolical.
and then what's the last wine you drank? Viognier, I
Well,
guess?
Viognier, yeah, there you go.
And that's somewhere in the.
So Diabolical Rootstock, and then last name C. Diabolical Rootstock Funeral.
Diabolical Rootstock Funeral. That sounds pretty. So that's the name of the. So right now there's a contest where that cover is going to get expanded into like a mini comic in the next issue, and the winner will, their horror wine horror name will be the title of it. So yours was what again?
Diabolical Rootstock Funeral.
What about yours?
That's when we bury all the AXR that we thought was phylloxera resistant, and it ended up not actually being phylloxera resistant.
That's a good story right there.
You know, well, it's all comes back to the vineyard, Stacy.
It does.
Diabolical rootstock funeral. Appearing live, the Walla Walla Motor Company.
Actually-
Sunday presents.
Vinyl Sunday presents
I'm gonna do mine real quick because
Diabolical.
this is actually
Rootstock
brand new.
Funeral.
This just came out like 2 weeks ago, so I'm
All right.
still kind of getting.
Brian, you go to the second to last wine yet because we already got rootstock.
Yeah.
The Viognier. What was the last wine you had last night before you went to bed? Probably the same fucking wine that you kept hiding from
Oh, my
everybody.
name's S. So this won't sound too different, but it's I had the Syrah last night, and so Diabolical Vineyard of Madness.
Whoa.
Diabolical Vineyard of Madness.
Terrifying vinification cult.
That's pretty awesome. I know I'm totally biased
Your
because
move, Dave Fitty. Your move. We got real Polaroids.
What do we got, Brian?
Well, I'm basically the same as you because we had the same
right.
wine, and then our last
Those are
names
C.
are the same.
what was
So
the next to last wine then? What'd you have last night or what?
I honestly don't.
Very close. What was this? He was holding it like a
No,
fucking
let's see
baby.
We had some Movedras last night. There was a Carmenere,
Red blend.
the Barbera,
Last night
I had all of those.
her
the
red blend.
the Delmas Field Blend.
Oh,
Was
cool.
fantastic.
That's what.
So then I would be Grotesque Chateau Funeral.
All right. Long live-
I'm glad Brooke's getting shout outs because she's, like we said, women are the homies.
She's amazing. She
Brooke is a homie.
kind of like showed up as a surprise last night. I think MJ, I kept talking about her and how much we wanted to see her this weekend, and so I think MJ texted her and said, "You got to come over
Oh, cool.
to the house." And she didn't have wine in her hand. And then when we started, she's like, "Oh, I got some wine in the car." I was like, "Fucking go get it."
Get in here.
Yeah.
How dare you?
Absolutely
show up.
love those.
I mean, the Delmas wine, they're hard to get.
Mm-hmm.
When she was on the show, she actually had to go to. Remember, she went to Bottle
right.
Barn and bought a couple bottles of whatever
Yeah.
they actually make enough of to be in distribution. So we didn't get to taste any of the the more rare stuff.
Brooke,
So
if you're listening, please send a case
Send
of Viognier
more wine.
to Red blend.
She will not send any
Yeah,
more
we've
Viognier.
tried.
They make a tiny amount of
Yeah.
this.
Don't make it easy for her.
although, and I guess
Don't give
the
her an out.
the wine
3 bottles will be fine.
the wine that make it a 6-pack. The wine that her dad dropped on our table
Oh, right.
the night before, the Magnum.
That was
Is
good.
that
the
not
peddler.
the peddler?
Yeah.
Is that out? Is that in release?
That one's only, I
They
think,
made
for wine
100
club
of them
members.
of each, and it's kind of the top barrels of the Syrahs, 100% new oak.
Yeah, it was a baller bottle
Yeah.
for sure, and a night of baller bottles.
Yeah, it was definitely out of all the bottles on the table that night, it was stand out.
Yeah, and there was some names on there that would
There were some
break a
big
toe
names
if
on
you
there.
dropped them all.
Also, they used heavy glass, but
Yeah, well, there's that.
Some of those 750s were heavier than
Yeah,
the Magnum.
some of the 750s were heavier,
we should
empty
do a
than the Magnum.
story on environmental bottles, like environmental changes for Blood Red Gods while they're waking up the earth.
Yeah.
Can I write it under my new death metal pseudonym?
What
Your
was it?
pseudonym was pretty badass.
Yeah.
That's what I'm writing under from now on.
Okay,
What was it?
The viticulture cult, or what was that?
Diabolical viticulture cult. Hold on.
No.
J. Terrifying.
Terrifying vinification.
Red blend. Vinification. J. Cult. Terrifying.
Vinification cult.
Right.
That is cool.
Yeah.
Is that is the terrifying vinification cult like the super industrial winemaking or the natural winemakers?
I don't know,
I feel like it's natural because I want there to be a seance involved, or there's something when they're making it,
But I love that the initials, if I were to use it as TV cult.
Mm-hmm. The TV cult. Oh yeah, it's cool.
Yeah.
And hopefully there's
My friend bought the Onion yesterday.
TV cult. Maybe you should do the wine reviews for the Onion.
I think this is that knockover maybe.
Yeah, I don't do that.
Are we still on?
Is this still on? Is this
Yeah,
thing
we're
on?
good. We're good.
Is this thing on?
Hello? Mother? Mother.
All right, well, I know that Stacy's got to get out of here soon and go
Yeah,
throw
we'll
the event
see
that
you in
we're
a little bit.
set to go to.
Yeah.
See you guys.
We'll be
Any-
the
any-
caffeinated guys in the back.
Yeah, well, we've got to get more coffee then. Any
What's
shout outs or anything that's coming up next that you're excited about?
I
Can
would
you
just
sell tickets to the annual merrymaking?
yeah. Blood of Gods on Instagram is probably the best way to get it. So just check out Blood of Gods zine. That's my tag on Instagram, and there are tickets for the merrymaking. We have a subscription if people want to just get these issues each time sent directly to them.
Yeah.
So we do like a spring and a fall issue, and then in the winter and the summer we do like a Blood of Gods fun pack, which sometimes it's a pair of sunglasses and stickers, buttons, patches, that kind of thing. Yeah, they were fun. Yeah, so they you can cancel anytime. It takes like 60 seconds to sign up.
Don't cancel ever.
And hopefully I'll have another wine from Sam in the mix, maybe in the fall issue.
Cool.
All right,
that'd be awesome.
I'll write a review of one of Sam's wines.
No.
And it's fun seeing these around. Like when we were in Georgia.
Oh, that's right.
We went into places where,
oh, cool.
You know, we saw the zine and then met some Psalms that I see follow you as well.
Oh,
so
cool.
we all kind of like, it's this cool little community that you've started.
What I like is that, you know, I know we're wrapping up here, but people that have a really high pedigree that just murder my experience or knowledge of wine, that are like Masters of Psalms or Masters of Wine or whatever, I feel like it gives them permission to sort of let their hair down and be like, oh, I get to actually be like goofy and dumb and fun, and just like, because normally it's austere and polished and they have to be very like articulate, and it's like, hey, you know, it's like, this is a safe place to have fun and just like, you know.
No, we're here to fight the good fight with you against the austere and the polished, because we couldn't do it anyway. So I got no polish. I got no austere.
Squirrel falling off the line. That was crazy.
Oh, that's cool.
We made it an hour before the photographer got his ADHD kicked in and he had to take photos of squirrels.
Literally
Squirrels. He's eating fucking squirrels. All right.
Thanks so much, though. Yeah, no, you guys are, I mean, it's cool when you're like driving along and you kind of look to your left or right and someone's doing something totally different, but you can see that they're doing work and we're going this direction.
Smoke with
We're all on tour, man.
on the side of the road.
Some of us have pentagrams painted on the side. Some of us
against
have.
the hood.
Yeah, that checks out. Just keep on trucking.
R.I.P. this episode.
Yeah, thanks.
When is this going to come out?
Next week.
Next week.
So,
What are we shouting out?
I don't know.
We got a couple final Sundays coming up. If you haven't figured it out by now, what the hell are you doing with your life?
Oh, you should have got an email anyway.
Vetiver's Indie Cave spinning vinyl.
Some of his and some of ours, I think.
Yep.
And Costas Tacos.
Yep.
And then, this is the big announcement that we haven't made on the show yet. June 23rd, food provided by the one and only Chuck Flavor Train Matto.
Oh, that's happening.
Shut up!
Yes.
That's the first thing you ever shared with me on Instagram. Was the barbecue guy.
Yeah,
Oh,
Chuck. Yeah, Flavor Train.
I just like how there's a 1 second pause after June 23rd, food. It's like,
So
yes!
exciting. Also, Mark Adams Band, Grateful Bluegrass Boys, and I think we added someone last
We
night.
know, but we're gonna make that a
We added on
surprise.
Jeremy.
Hey, who's the winemaker from France that is in
Jeremy's
a
coming.
band called
He's bringing his
Grateful Dead?
guitar.
There's a winemaker from France in a band called Grateful Dead.
It's one of the guys that's here. It's
What
like
the fuck?
It's called Grateful Dead.
All right,
grateful, like
Grateful.
Yeah.
all right.
How do
You
we find this person?
find us that person.
Once
so
we
can-
get done recording, I'll
Okay.
rattle my brain around. But it's like, oh man, it's Eve.
It's a strain.
one of the Eves
Yeah,
Eve Couleron?
or Eve
Gangloff?
or Eve
Gangloff maybe.
Yeah.
Is it like a little shaggier hair, like or a little longer hair? Like,
It's kind of thin. Kind of, yeah.
yeah, I think it's in a. I don't know if they are a Grateful Dead cover band. I would imagine so, but it's called Grateful
Yeah,
Dead.
I would have to. I mean,
I
that's
assume so.
either that or they just landed on a really good name. So yeah, that was the shout out. June 23rd, Vinyl Sunday. Great musical lineup with a special guest that we'll add later. Plus now food.
Oh,
by
it's a label. Ruby Hill Winery.
what? What accessories to die for? Grateful Dead.
Huh.
They make a Grateful Red.
Have to investigate this a
We're
little
gonna-
further.
Do we send them a cease and desist? Okay.
Yeah. So,
All right, let's fucking wrap this one up.
Blankets with better
Subscribe,
yeah.
review, tell your friends, but only the cool ones.
Call your mom.
Call your mom. Thanks for listening. This is episode 2 of our Hospice to Rhone Walla Walla extravaganza.
Spectacular.
Always be cropping.
Always be cropping.
Winemakers out.